Chapter 51, Understanding the Color of Air, new book, please read it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, hold back a little, just enough to look hurt, but not fatally. Rhodes dialed back his power, hoping the spider demon could dish out more damage. He was desperate to level up. Let's face it, training alone wasn't cutting it. This was the only way to push his body to the next level. Still, he wasn't strong enough. Guys like Kaido and Big Mom, based on what he knew from the books, had way better defenses than him. First things first, become the strongest creature on land, sea, and air. Rhodes kept his power in check, going toe-to-toe with the spider demon, loving the pain and the rush. Each time his body grew stronger, he'd adjust his strength and haki to match the spider demon's attack. He was weakening. Sensing the dip in Rhodes' power and haki, the spider demon couldn't hide a flash of excitement. Lucky for him, the guy was green, hadn't seen enough action. He'd blown his stamina too fast. Otherwise, taking him down might have been a problem. The hits were getting weaker. Ghost Spider felt the difference every time they clashed. He was almost done for. A cruel glint sparked in Ghost Spider's eyes. Usually, the Navy didn't kill pirates on the spot unless they were guilty of really serious stuff. They'd capture them and ship them off to the underwater prison, but this kid, this talented monster, had to be stopped here. After another collision, Ghost Spider went all out, instantly unleashing everything he had. His swords blurred, and haki blazed on the blades like fiery ghosts. Red Flame Ghost Shadow Slash. Rhodes, using his observation haki, knew this attack was way stronger than usual. He instantly boosted his own power, slamming out a fist loaded with haki. Using Ghost Spider to trigger his passive ability didn't mean he had to eat the guy's ultimate move. Bang! Ghost Spider stumbled back, eyes wide. Wasn't he supposed to be running on fumes? How could he still pack that kind of punch? Rhodes staggered back, clutching his right arm with his left, looking stubborn as hell. I'm not going down. Seeing Rhodes like that, Ghost Spider pushed his doubts aside. One last burst. Didn't matter. This fight was already over. Back on the beach, the fight didn't end with Neru and his crew showing up. A Navy warship had arrived, too. Damn it. Where did that warship come from? Luo's face fell as he saw the warship pulling up to the coast. Compared to the warship, the polar tang was a dinghy. Especially the warship's cannons, all aimed right at the polar tang. Fire! Pekan and Shachi scrambled to the main gun platform on the polar tang, ready to lock in their target. We're outgunned. The warship had hundreds of guns, easy. The polar tang didn't stand a chance in a firefight. Neru went all in on his observation haki, scanning the battlefield, and it clicked. Since he was a kid, he had this weird sense, a way of picking up information from his surroundings. He told Rhodes about it, and Rhodes said it was observation haki, that he was a natural, except, his observation haki was different. After Rhodes mastered his own observation haki, they compared notes and figured it out. He could sense more than just someone's presence, or dodge attacks, or predict moves, or gauge strength, or find stuff out of sight. He could sense more. It was this vague feeling, like he was picking up intelligence. Rhodes called his unique observation haki, reading the air, which felt right, like right now. He cranked up his observation haki and realized that Nia didn't need help. It wasn't a fight. It was a lesson, so, no need to sweat it. Luo, catch your breath. Genos, keep that guy busy. Seriously? I just signed up, and now I'm fighting non-stop. Still griping, Genos gently put the puppy Sisai down, patted its head, told it to hide inside, then opened his coat and pulled out a hatchet. Is being a pirate always this crazy? Genos held the hatchet up. I'd say we could just stand here, but you look like you want to fight. Bring it on. Point guns, chaos. In a flash, Gula was in front of Genos, hands a blur, and crimson flowers bloomed on Genos's chest. Genos, seeing their new buddy get stabbed, Bepo screamed, and Luo jumped up, forgetting about catching his breath. You're too soft to be a pirate. Go home. Gula shook his hands, looking calm after dropping Genos. What are you talking about? The fight's just getting started. A hand grabbed Gula's shoulder, and Genos turned around. His face, smeared with blood, was terrifying. Swish, Genos swung the hatchet, but Gula dodged at the last second, catching only a shallow cut. You can still fight. You're wasted. Gula glanced at his scratched arm, then looked back at Genos and froze. Where's the wound? He'd just stabbed the guy in the chest. There was blood on the ground. But where was the hole? Gula stared at Genos's bare, unmarked chest, completely baffled. Chapter 52 Gray is trapped in the warship, new book, please read it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Genos's clothes were shredded from the fight, and Gula could see no injuries on his body, yet, the blood on his fingers was still warm. The attack had definitely pierced the guy's chest, devil fruit user, maybe a Zoan with super regeneration. Or some other weird devil fruit power. Gula's face didn't betray his thoughts, but judging by that last attack, the guy wasn't that strong, one more shot will finish him, Toss those two in the fish tank. Keep an eye on them. Nera told Pekan and Shachi to lock Mr. 5 and Ms. Valentine in the tank, Law needed to recover ASAP. They couldn't risk him wasting energy killing them, so Pekan and Shachi just held them underwater, heads above the surface for air, especially the exploding head guy. If he recovered and used his power now, it'd be a real pain. What about the warship's cannons? Pekan and Shachi, following Nera's orders, glanced worriedly at the warship nearby. Those dark cannons looked ready to blast any second. They've still got their own people over here. They shouldn't be dumb enough to fire point blank. Law explained, trying to recover. Maybe not for long. Nero eyed the silent warship. He walked into a room at the bow and wheeled out a cart loaded with guns and ammo, his mobile arsenal, prepped by Gray. Ignoring Genos and Nia's fight, Nero sorted through the weapons. Law had a bigger job. He needed to save his strength. If the Navy started shelling, Nero would intercept. On the warship, Major Keel scanned the Polaris with his spyglass. Catwoman Nia was the Ernest family's priority, alive. Gula and Neo were tangling with pirates near the Polaris, but where were the rest of their crew? Black Gun Nero and Death Surgeon Law were on board. Only Mad Blade Rod, their captain, was missing. Was he fighting on the island? He glanced north to Tiger Shark Island. A frightening energy had been coming from there. Even from this distance, the vibration felt like giants clashing. That Mad Blade Rod is holding his own against Vice Admiral Enigmo for this long. Major Keel thought, with that kind of power, he should be in the Grand Line already. But, so is Impel down. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Lowering his spyglass, Major Keel barked to the nearest officer. Watch that pirate ship. If they try to set sail, open fire. Maximum firepower. Sir, the officer was shocked. But Mr. Gula and Mr. Neo are still over there. They were important people in world government-aligned nations. Are you questioning me? Keel glared. We serve Vice Admiral Enigmo. We represent naval justice. Anyone who hesitates doesn't belong here. If your hesitation lets evil escape, can you live with that? The officer recoiled from Keel's glare. If they try to leave, full firepower. For justice. For justice. Did you hear something? In the warship's power control room, Gray, absorbed in research, spoke to Captain Garland. I felt the ship move. They must have spotted the pirate ship and are getting ready to attack. Unlike Gray's focus on the blueprints, Captain Garland had been watching the warship status. The two ships had been in close contact via Den Mushi. They must have gotten orders from Major Keel. I see. Gray kept his face neutral but felt a surge of panic. I hope Nia got the message. They won't leave me here. I don't want to join the Navy. What did Dr. Thomas change here? Luca stroked his beard, frowning at the transmission equipment. Dr. Thomas had compared the blueprints to the real equipment. He'd never seen it before, but he described every function perfectly. Luca was impressed. Typical scientist. He's in a different league than a grease monkey like me, star, but when he saw the transmission equipment, Dr. Thomas said there were issues, it had broken down before, but Luca had fixed it using the blueprints and his experience. The trial run went smoothly, so, what was wrong? Had he misunderstood something? He'd followed the blueprints exactly. It should have been perfect, then how had Dr. Thomas's changes made it run smoother? It was nearly as good as new, is this what top scientists can do, star? Luca stared at the equipment, bewildered but full of respect for Gray, what am I going to do, star? Gray didn't know Luca admired him. He was in full panic, if I ran on deck now, they might see me on the Polaris. But then the Navy might recognize me, star, they hadn't offered a bounty, so it was possible they wouldn't. He'd kept his hat low since boarding, and tried not to be seen, with Captain Garland's protection, no one paid him much attention, but he couldn't risk the Navy knowing who he was, if they had more intel, it was over. He was on a Navy ship. What now? Chapter 53 Ghost Spider, Am I Also a Famous Teacher? New book, please read it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You're almost back to normal, Luo. Nera watched Genos drag Gula over towards Law. Okay. Sure, Luo confirmed and stood up. The op fruit is unique. While it grants incredible abilities, it drains your stamina more than other devil fruits. Unleashing the room, in particular, feels like pouring energy into a bottomless pit. Luckily, thanks to Torod, Luo had joined their crazy training sessions years ago. It seemed ridiculous, but it genuinely boosted his physical strength, which kept Luo going. Plus, Rhodes frequently injured himself and needed Luo to patch him up, giving Luo even more chances to practice with his fruit abilities. The result? Luo had more stamina, a faster healing body, and better control of his fruit. Room. Luo opened his palm, and a light blue sphere of energy expanded rapidly, covering almost the whole island. Got it. Using his fruit's power, Luo immediately located Rhodes's aura as he fought the ghost spider in the North District, and Gray's aura on a warship further away. Locked up. Sensing Gray's location, Luo thought, when he was busy with Gula earlier, he'd noticed Gray being taken away by some Marines. But he was preoccupied, and it didn't seem like Gray was arrested, so he hadn't intervened. Now, though, he had the stamina to bring him back. Luo activated his ability, and instantly, Gray, who was chatting with Luca in the warship's power room, appeared on the Polar's deck. Ha! Dr. Thomas is gone. Mid-sentence, Luca turned, saw Gray's sudden disappearance, and gasped, seeing the wine bottle where Gray had stood. Captain Garland and Luca exchanged glances, they could practically hear their dreams shattering. This has got to be some kind of devil fruit power. Could it be those pirates? Damn it, I'm checking it out. Captain Garland couldn't sit still and bolted to the deck. Did those pirates also want Dr. Thomas's skills? Don't start bombing now, gotta get Dr. Thomas back first. Garland raced through the warship, terrified that Major Keel's bombardment would sink Dr. Thomas, too. This was his ticket to promotion. Saved. With a flash, Gray was suddenly on the Polar. He was stunned, then cheered, grabbed Beepo, and gave him a big hug. What did you go and get yourself onto a warship for? What else could I do? Get out of there. Pekin and Shachi clapped Gray on the shoulder, laughing. Don't say stuff like that, you scared me half to death. Where's Rhodes? Ignoring the goofing around, Luo asked Neru. Almost there. Sensing Rhodes's ongoing fight, Neru gestured to wait. Rhodes had definitely felt Luo's power just now. Besides, Rhodes had clearly stated his time limit, 10 minutes, and there were still 10 minutes left. 1.5 minutes. Neru seemed amused, a grin tugging at his lips. In 90 seconds, we bring back Rhodes and set sail. North District, feeling Luo's power surge and then disappear, Rhodes understood instantly. They're ready. Guess I can wrap things up here. Kid, you're spent. Ghost Spider, still locked in combat with Rhodes, saw Rhodes's strength and hockey waning, and his eyes gleamed with cruel satisfaction. Time to die. Lieutenant General Ghost Spider, gotta say, you played your part well. I'm impressed. Rhodes suddenly sped up, dodging Ghost Spider's heavier attacks, and creating distance. You were faking being tired. Seeing Rhodes's sudden energy, Ghost Spider's eyes darkened. Nah, I'm beat. Rhodes waved his hands, looking exhausted. It's hard work controlling my strength in hockey, keeping it just a little weaker than yours, but not getting instantly wrecked. Especially, 'cause your fighting style's so sneaky. You burst out with sudden attacks now and again, so I gotta adjust my power and act accordingly. You can understand how tricky it is. Seeing the young man's grin, Ghost Spider seethed. But thanks to you, I feel like I've leveled up, both in power control and hockey use. Rhodes sighed internally. Vice Admiral Ghost Spider is basically my teacher. Is that just how the pirate world is? The enemies are all training me. Makes me look forward to the next one. You're too cocky, kid. His rage burned, but it didn't consume Ghost Spider's reason. Instead, it focused him. Come feel the results of your teaching, Vice Admiral Ghost Spider. Heroic hockey erupted from Rhodes, enveloping him. Boom. The ground shattered beneath his feet. With a red and black flash, Rhodes was in front of Ghost Spider, hockey swirling around his clenched fist. Before the punch landed, a terrifying force crashed into Ghost Spider. At the same time, an unseen power pierced his hockey and started to break his body from the inside. So fast, that was Ghost Spider's first thought. Before he could react, Rhodes's attack landed, clearly faster than before. Such strong hockey. The hockey he'd hastily summoned was shattered by Rhodes's, which was stronger in both quantity and application. Such power. After the hockey clash, Rhodes's fist slammed into Ghost Spider's chest, and the brutal force broke his bones instantly. Chapter 54 Gula. Actually, we have a deep father-daughter relationship. New book, please read it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. First, Ghost Spider got rocked by a brutal attack, then Rhodes' fist slammed into his chest. He nearly blacked out from the hit. Your weapons are mine now. Rhodes, seeing Ghost Spider falter, seized the moment. With a glint in his eye, he snatched the swords from Ghost Spider's grip and booted him away. Return of life, here I come. Rhodes' eyes lit up as he grabbed Ghost Spider's sword. Oh yeah, and where's my Huajo? No time to admire the sword, though. Seeing the window closing, Rhodes frantically searched for the Liang Kuai blade he'd snatched earlier. It was the first one he'd gotten. In the fight, his weapon was sent flying by Ghost Spider, so he switched to hand-to-hand combat. Now it's nowhere to be found. Damn it, the fight was so intense, who knows where it landed. Their battle had turned everything to rubble, the ground was all cratered. Rhodes couldn't find his blade anywhere. Suddenly, a light blue aura bloomed around him. Wait a second. Before he could finish, Law's power kicked in, teleporting him to the polar tang. I didn't find my Huajo yet. Neru cut him off, handing him a knife. Huajo. I figured you wouldn't need it for what's coming, so I grabbed it when we left. You're the best, Neru. Grinning, Rhodes grabbed the 3 knives and couldn't help but admire them. Stealing other people's weapons again. You've got the weirdest hobbies, Law said, eyeing the extra blades. They're trophies. Rhodes retorted, their captain's back. Does that mean Lieutenant Ghost Spider is down? Gula took a few steps back, his eyes glued to Rhodes, who suddenly appeared. Feeling Gula's stare, Rhodes snapped his head around and grinned. You must be Nia's dad. The words hit him like a punch. Gula's pupils shrunk, and every muscle in his body tensed. Relax, I'm not gonna hurt you. Rhodes casually slung an arm around Gula's shoulders, feeling his tension, and gave him a friendly pat, like they were old buddies. But Nia's her own person. She's not just a family heirloom or a tool for your ambitions. She's my partner. She's someone who trusts me with her dreams. Her life is hers to decide. He was frozen, unable to move. Cold sweat trickled down Gula's forehead. The kid standing next to him was a monster in human skin. Compared to the healing monster he'd just fought, this kid was a real nightmare. Gula had been in charge of the Dawson Kingdom's intelligence for over a decade and dealt with a lot of heavy hitters, but never had anyone made him feel this uneasy. A pirate like this, even the Shichibukai didn't have this kind of presence. Maybe, Gula's mind raced, then a smile spread across his face. Of course she's free. With that, Gula's thoughts fell into place. It's just that she's my daughter. I was just worried she'd get lost, become some mindless pirate, and get herself killed at sea. But seeing you're a bunch of good guys, I feel a lot better. He smoothly took Rhodes' arm off his shoulder and turned to Nia, who had stopped fighting Neo as soon as Rhodes appeared. Nia, I'm glad to see you doing so well and finding such a good crew. My dear, whatever you decide, know that your family will always have your back. Go for it. Nia didn't react as she watched her father reunite and express such genuine friendship and support. Clap, clap, clap. Well said. Rhodes clapped enthusiastically and gestured for Nia to get on board. But we're shoving off. Gula wasn't fazed and walked back with Neo, watching Rhodes and the others prepare to set sail on the warship. They're getting ready to leave. The lookout reported to Major Keel immediately. Prepare for bombardment. Major Keel ordered without hesitation. Wait. Captain Garland's urgent voice crackled through the den mushy. Check out the pirate ship over there. Is there a guy with blonde hair wearing a white lab coat? That's Dr. Thomas, a scientist I invited to join the Navy. Pirates kidnapped him, we need to rescue him. Major Keel, who wasn't going to bother at first, grabbed his binoculars after hearing the scientist's name. He had heard about the Navy's research division. Scientists like that were rare, and worth confirming. After all, their warship could cross the calm belt because of the Navy's scientists. Blonde hair, white lab coat. Yes. Looks messy and disheveled. Yes. It's Dr. Thomas. He's been kidnapped. Major Keel, please rescue him. He's a brilliant scientist and would be a huge asset to the Navy's pursuit of justice. Major Keel watched the scene on the other ship, listening to Captain Garland's increasingly insistent voice, his face darkening. That polar bear was definitely one of the Rod pirates, and the two in hats, although there was no bounty on their heads, seemed like Rod pirates. Dr. Thomas was hugging and laughing with them. You're an idiot, Captain Garland. Major Keel slammed down his binoculars and stared at the den mushy, wishing he could see Garland's dumb face on the other end. That guy's one of the Rod pirates. They all are. Ignoring Captain Garland, Major Keel raised his voice and barked, fire. Bang, 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 the cannons roared to life, sending a barrage of shells toward the polar tang. Chapter 55 Luo, I want to output 2, Gray, I am the MVP, new book, please read it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This shelling is insane. Geno's expression tightened as he watched the barrage of cannonballs hurtling toward them. There's no way to handle this volume. Even if she survives, Sisai is probably a goner. Rhodes gripped his Huazhou sword at his waist, and Neilu raised her black rifle. I'll take care of this. Luo, who hadn't been able to inflict any real damage so far, stopped Rhodes and Neilu. The next moment, a light blue circle of energy expanded. Room, cut. With a flick of Guiwei in his hand, Luo sliced all the incoming cannonballs in half, and then. Shockwave. Luo subtly raised his fingers. He cut all the shells open. The sailors on the warship stared in disbelief at the halved cannonballs. Devil fruit user. Major Gear, using his telescope, glared at Luo across the water, gritting his teeth. It's pirates like this, constantly popping up, that keep these waters in turmoil. Only by eradicating them all can we bring lasting peace to this sea, and that's the justice he's sworn to uphold. Everyone, second round of bombardment. Regaining his composure, Major Gear barked the order. Immediately, the warship shuddered violently. What's happening? The targeting system's gone haywire. Heads up. The shells are rolling. The Navy soldiers loading and firing the cannons screamed in panic. Are you kidding me? This can't be happening. Everyone. Grab hold of something. Before the terrified eyes of the soldiers still on deck, the warship was lifted into the air by an unseen force and tilted at a 45-degree angle. It stopped. "We're saved," the Marines who reacted quickly, clinging to anything bolted down, were filled with relief. They looked down at their comrades falling into the sea with mixed feelings. The enemy attack can't be the only one like this. Looking down at the blue water below, a flicker of dread crossed Major Gear's mind. If a warship falls from this height. Everyone. Brace yourselves, Major Gear roared, just as the sea rushed up to meet them. Boom. The huge warship crashed into the water, creating a massive wave, punctuated by the screams and struggles of the Navy soldiers. Amidst the churning water, the Polar quickly sailed away from the coast. Phew. Luo leaned against the railing, taking a deep breath. "Don't push yourself if you can't handle it, Luo." Seeing the obvious fatigue on Luo's face, Rhodes chuckled. "It's just this much, how could I not handle it?" Forcing himself to stand straight, Luo tried to act nonchalant. "So, are you going to take care of that warship too?" In the distance, another warship was rapidly approaching the coast. Luo's face paled as he looked at the approaching vessel. He was completely drained. Getting Gray and Rhodes back onto the Polar required expanding his room to a large area, which took a big physical toll, not to mention he just dealt with one warship. "Don't worry, they can't catch us." Before Luo could respond, Gray suddenly spoke. "Huh?" Everyone turned to look at him. He facing the collective gaze, Gray smirked. "They thought I was a scientist and wanted me to join the Navy." "Wait a minute, you are a scientist?" Nia pointed out sharply. "Yes, I was originally a scientist." Gray was taken aback, then continued. "I followed the naval captain into their core power area and saw the complete warship blueprints." Gray abruptly stopped mid-sentence, the smile fading from his face. He then smacked himself on the chest. "My warship blueprints. I forgot to bring those blueprints back." "Get to the point, you idiot." Nia's iron fist connected, interrupting Gray's thoughts. "Sorry." Rubbing his head, Gray stood up straight and continued his story. "Anyway, I improved the transmission equipment on their warship, restoring it to its optimal condition. It's even better than new. I'm starting to think you joined the Navy and are now an undercover agent on our ship." Nia cracked her knuckles, eyeing Gray suspiciously. "I'm just asking why that warship is so fast." Meanwhile, on the warship in the distance. "We're so fast. I don't remember this warship ever moving this fast when it first set sail. What's going on?" "The ocean currents." Captain Garland, feeling the warship move much faster than before, felt a surge of excitement. As expected, Dr. Thomas is loyal to the Navy. While others were clueless, Captain Garland, who had witnessed everything, knew that it was Dr. Thomas's improvements to the engine room that had revitalized the warship, making it faster than it ever was when it was new. "Don't worry, Dr. Thomas." Looking firmly at the pirate ship ahead, Captain Garland felt the weight of the justice he carried. "I will definitely rescue you." In the engine room deep within the warship, Luca stared in disbelief at the wildly spinning machinery. It wasn't obvious before, but now that the warship was underway, he felt the full extent of Dr. Thomas's brilliance. A simple improvement to the transmission equipment had drastically increased the overall operational capacity. He was now even more convinced that Dr. Thomas was a genius. But, something felt off. Luca tugged at his clothes. He realized they were soaked with sweat. The temperature in here was getting dangerously high. "Wait. Hold on." Hearing the urgency in Gray's voice, Nia stopped, her face questioning. Generally speaking, the limiting factor in technological advancement isn't clever design, but the limitations of the materials. In many cases, we come up with incredibly sophisticated designs and wild imaginations, but turning those designs and imaginations into reality is difficult. The biggest hurdle is the materials. Get to the point. Nia's unfriendly stare made Gray shrink back. "In short, I improved their design, but the current materials can't handle the increased power. In other words, while my modifications allow the equipment to achieve better performance in the short term, it puts a greater strain on it. And if the strain exceeds the material's limits, It'll completely fall apart. Chapter 56, Leaving in the Party. New book, please read it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Squeak. At first, Luca barely noticed a faint noise, lost in the hum of the machinery, but then, the machine started to groan from all directions, and the room's temperature spiked. That's when it hit him. This is it. Things were spiraling out of control. If the equipment he was responsible for had such a critical flaw, he'd be in deep trouble. He could see cracks spreading across the machine parts. Bang. Whoosh. A piece of machinery shot off, whizzing past Luca's cheek with terrifying force. Splat. Blood sprayed his face, and he felt the warmth. He finally snapped to it, threw open the door, and bolted for the deck. Worry about the consequences later. Right now, it was all about survival. Bang! Moments after Luca burst outside, the warship screeched to a halt with a massive explosion. Not bad, Nia said, patting Gray on the back as she watched the warship in the distance belch black smoke. Huh, I just took out a warship. Luo just stared, stone-faced. Alright, we've got the supplies. Let's head straight for the Grand Line. Without power, there was no way the warship could catch the polar with its sails. Rhodes clapped his hands to get everyone's attention and raised his fist. To celebrate making it to the Grand Line and welcoming our new crewmate, let's throw a party. Yeah. Chef. We need a chef. A little later, Rhodes stared at the mountain of food before him, looking defeated. They still didn't have a chef. After calling for a banquet, all they could produce was the food the automated food processor, created by Gray, could spit out. Seriously? You don't even have a cook. Genos handed a piece of fried chicken to Sisai, eyeing Rhodes in disbelief. What kind of pirate crew had he joined? Chefs were essential on the open sea, especially in the Grand Line. The chef not only had to figure out how much food was needed, but also had to ensure they had enough supplies for the entire voyage. Plus, they needed to make sure the crew got enough nutrition to avoid getting scurvy and other nasty diseases. I can fill in, Genos said, watching Sisai happily munch. He stood up, shrugged off his coat, and rolled up his sleeves. Whoa! You can cook too? Rhodes looked at Genos, surprised, and everyone else stared in disbelief. What's so weird? I live alone. Of course, I can cook. Nope, can't do it, Nia said, shaking her head. Sorry, the three of us, plus Beepo here, are useless in the kitchen. Beepo nodded, backing up Rhodes' statement. I've got an automated food processor. Why bother cooking? Gray glanced at the mass-produced, bland food in his hands and shrugged, deciding to hold out for Genos's feast. I can cook fish, but they're tired of it, Pekin said, raising his hand. He still couldn't picture Genos cooking. This new crewmate had left quite the impression. Between taking down a bunch of Marines with ease and his monster-like abilities when fighting Gula, Pekin couldn't imagine him near a stove. Xia Qi had his mouth full. Just so you know, I only know how to barbecue, Genos said, quickly setting up the grill and prepping the ingredients. Wow! Amazing! That knife work is incredible. Everyone crowded around Genos, oohing and awing at his smooth movements. Genos's lips twitched in a smile, and he worked even faster. Delicious! So good! Awesome, Genos! As the compliments kept coming, Genos's smile grew wider and wider, but as time wore on and he kept grilling, the smile slowly faded from his face. Hey! Genos stopped grilling, slowly blew out a smoke ring, and looked at Rhodes, who was still chowing down. Is your stomach a black hole? Everyone else had finished eating half an hour ago. Only Rhodes was still going at it. Even at Genos's super-fast grilling speed, he couldn't keep up. Got a little carried away, Rhodes said with a sheepish grin. He was holding a long sword he'd snagged from the ghost spider. Under the influence of his "Knights will not die with unarmed hands" ability, Rhodes had started to grasp the secret of life return. He was practicing by burning through a mountain of food. Life return was a special ability gained after training the body to the extreme and mastering the Navy's 6 styles. With life return, you could freely control your body, hair, and internal organs. It was an ability, or state of being, that allowed you to completely control your body and how it converted energy. Vice Admiral Ghost Spider, who Rhodes had just fought, was a master of it, by using weapons Ghost Spider had used for years. Rod was able to experience their past memories and duplicate them on his own body, and through this trial version of Life Return, Rod quickly digested the mountain of food and controlled the energy, slowly healing the minor injuries he'd suffered in the previous fight. But seriously, your cooking is amazing. That's not the point, Genos said, glancing at Rod's still flat stomach with a hint of suspicion. I don't know how you guys planned the supplies, but if you eat this much every meal, I doubt we'll have enough food to make it to the Grand Line. Don't worry, I just ate more because I was fighting a war, Rhodes said, sensing Genos's curiosity. As for why my stomach isn't bulging, it's because of an ability called Life Return. You can boost your digestion and quickly recover your strength and heal injuries by controlling your body. Several pairs of eyes lit up at once. But I've only just started learning it. I'll teach you guys once I get the hang of it. Just so you know, you have to train your body beyond the limits of normal people to learn this. Chapter 57 Partners and Training Manual, New Book, please read it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hey, we haven't been properly introduced yet. Rod clapped Genos on the shoulder. This is our new partner, Genos. Anything else? Nia glanced at Rod. Well. Rod looked at Genos, realizing he wasn't much for talking. Maybe you should introduce yourself. Genos scratched his head, looking at the crew. Even though he'd only known them for half a day, it felt like they'd been friends for years. This is what it feels like to have companions. Not bad, Star. I'm Genos. I ate an animal-type devil fruit, specifically the human fruit, zombie form. My dream is to live a peaceful life. And this is my partner, Sisai. Woof woof. Genos scooped up the little white dog, who was happily munching away, and held her up for everyone to see. A peaceful life, sounds simple, but it's the hardest dream to achieve, Rod sighed. I'm Rod, the captain of this ship, and I'm gonna help you make that dream a reality on the high seas. Neru, navigator and sniper. Neru flashed Genos a warm smile. This new guy seems calm, steady, and reliable, just like the sea itself. I'm Luo, the ship's doctor. Finally recovered from the meal, Luo stretched out his hand. Genos shook it, a friendly gesture, though it's probably rude, I can't help but want to study this guy. His recovery ability in that fight was unreal, Star. Your eyes look like you want to strap me to a table, Genos said, feeling a chill from Luo's stare. Nah, don't think I'll get the chance. Your regeneration's way too good. Genos just smiled. Since eating that devil fruit, he hadn't needed a doctor. I'm Nia. I ate an animal-type devil fruit, the black cat fruit. She studied Genos with curiosity. Yours is a mythical Zoan, right? That recovery power is insane. Guess so. We should spar sometime. I've never fought a mythical Zoan user before. Genos's face tightened a little. Fighting was way down the list from sleeping. I'm Piken. Zachi. I've been dying to say this, you looked so badass flicking your cigarette out with one hand. Yeah. And that trench coat is amazing. Where'd you get it? I want one. Damn, I've been bugging Boss Rod for uniform jackets forever. We'd look so cool. Imagine us all showing up in matching trench coats. Epic. Ha. This baby's custom-made, and packed with my secret weapons. Genos's eyes lit up, and he showed off his windbreaker to Pekin and Zachi. And Bear. Me too, Beepo wiggled his way to the front, eyeing the windbreaker. I'm Beepo, your senpai. Right, got it, senpai Beepo. Genos ruffled Beepo's fur. The soft feel was even better than Sisai's fur. Woof. Sisai looked up, as if sensing something. Whoa, lots of weapons. Gray peered into Genos's coat, taking in the arsenal. But I don't see any firearms. Don't you like guns? He introduced himself when Genos turned to him. I'm Thomas Gray, the ship's scientist. I see mostly close combat weapons. The inside of Genos's coat was lined with daggers, axes, and a single revolver that seemed more for show. I just find cold steel more reliable than black powder, Genos explained. The guns he'd come across were still flintlocks, weak, inaccurate, and slow to reload. He preferred getting up close and personal. Can't agree with that. Firepower is king. Gray said, his voice serious. Really? Guess guns just aren't for me. No way. Gray grabbed Genos's arm. I'll bet my entire career I can make a weapon you'll love, since the Rod pirates don't have a base to build a warship, fixing our weapons is all I can do, he had to design a weapon that would shut Genos up, So. Rod looked puzzled, holding out his hand to take what Nia offered, a den mushy, transponder snail, and a thin notebook. Neo gave me these. Speaking of her brother, Nia tried to act like it was no big deal, but the corners of her mouth betrayed her, unlike with our dad, Neo and I have a close bond, This den mushy can reach him. He usually won't use it, but he'll call us on it if something important comes up. As the family's intelligence gatherer, Neo had access to way more info than the Rod pirates floating at sea. I glanced through the notebook. It explains the Navy's 6 styles. This is huge. Rod said, holding the manual, without opening it. Everyone's heard of the 6 styles, but a complete manual is a big deal. It's a culmination of the Navy's combat expertise, What a thoughtful brother. Thinks you're not strong enough, he tossed the manual back to Nia. You should keep it, study it, and get stronger. You don't want to be outpaced by your little brother. Quit nagging. Nia took the manual, looked at the familiar handwriting, and handed it back to Rod. You and Neru are more naturally gifted than me. Learn it, then teach me. I'll pick it up faster that way. Nia looked at Rod intently. Besides, I'll feel safer once you know it. Alright, I'll take a look. Rod accepted the manual. With this 6 styles guide, I should be able to completely master Life Return soon. Don't worry, I'll take good care of it and give it back in one piece when I'm done. It's not like it matters. Nia turned away, a hint of warmth in her eyes. Chapter 58, Late Doflamingo, new book, please read it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tiger Shark Island. Medic. Hurry, we've got wounded here. Bandages, anyone got bandages? Hemostatic agent, stat. Major Kier. A Marine looked at the ashen-faced Major with concern. Damage report. 46 serious, 267 minor, 37 missing. Missing usually meant dead in this situation. Understood. Kier nodded, fire burning in his eyes. We'll make those pirates pay. They get away already, a voice boomed from above. A figure dropped from the sky, landing in front of Kier, pink feathered coat, purple shades, and malice radiating off him in waves. Cold sweat trickled down Kier's forehead. Shichibukai. Don Quixote Doflamingo, each word dripped with unconcealed fear. What's your purpose here? The Shichibukai were supposed to be allies of the Navy, both under the world government. But they were a bunch of arrogant powerhouses who didn't give a damn about the Navy, and knowing the world government, if a Shichibukai killed a Marine, they wouldn't even bat an eye. Plenty of Marines had died at their hands, both before and after they got the title. Doflamingo was particularly known for messing with the Navy. Doflamingo tilted his head, eyeing the Major. He arrives to find a post-battle mess, and this Navy officer seemed to be the highest-ranking survivor, so he asked. But a Major daring to speak to him like that? Doflamingo's fingers twitched. Seemed like it had been too long since he'd made an example of someone. Whether it was that pirate Luo or this navy, swish, star, invisible threads shot from Doflamingo's fingertips. Ack. What are you doing? It's me, Sergeant Giroux. I can't control my body. Get out of the way. No, why? Why can't I stop? A medic suddenly grabbed a weapon, aimed it at his comrades, and opened fire. Cries and gunshots erupted, turning the scene into hell. Kier watched, his blood turning to ice. He was doing it. Rage blazed in Kier's heart, but he was paralyzed, forced to watch. Fufufuru. Fufufuru. Doflamingo lounged on a rock, enjoying the show he orchestrated. It seemed to ease the tension. So, answer my question now. He focused his gaze on Kier, his voice dripping with malice. Or would you prefer to watch the show a little longer, because of that? Kier felt like he was falling into an abyss. Just because he didn't answer right away, this monster was playing with their lives. What had they done to deserve this? The Rhodes pirates left about 15 minutes ago. Kier ground out, trying to control his emotions. Utterly useless. Even though he expected it, Doflamingo couldn't help but comment, these Rhodes pirates were different. They weren't impulsive idiots like most pirates, they had clear goals and plans, just like he used to. If they could predict and avoid Holgo's town, they wouldn't give him an easy chance to catch up. Even with Ghost Spider leading the charge, they couldn't capture or even slow them down. That Luo had found himself a capable crew. Doflamingo tapped his fingers on his leg, his eyes hidden behind his shades, masking his thoughts. Should he keep chasing? He glanced at the panting Buffalo and abandoned the idea. Buffalo couldn't keep up. Now that they'd resupplied at Tiger Shark Island, they'd beeline for Reverse Mountain and the Grand Line. Even if ships were scrambled right now, they couldn't catch them. Incompetent navy, losing both warships. Tracking them in the Grand Line would be even harder, even if they knew their route. With their cunning, they wouldn't stick to any predictable pattern. See you in Sabaody, Luo. Doflamingo stopped tapping. I hope you'll bring me enough surprises by then. Bang! A shockwave blasted Kier off his feet. He could move again. In mid-air, Kier realized he could move. Relief washed over him, then he looked back at the origin of the blast. Vice Admiral Ghost Spider. What a mess you've made, Vice Admiral Ghost Spider. Doflamingo shielded Buffalo and Baby 5, taking the punch, his feathers ruffled. A rookie put you in this state? It makes me question the Navy's justice. Ghost Spider glanced at the casualties without flinching. Attacking the Navy without restraint, Doflamingo. Are you trying to lose your Shichibukai title? He demanded, his tone just as powerful. If so, why don't you just let me arrest you right here? Fufu. You're quite bold. Try if you dare. Chapter 59, Information Dealer Martha, new book, please read it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Whoa, that was close. In the ruined northern sector of Tiger Shark Island, a stone shifted, and a small figure scrambled out of the debris. I took this job to look into what's been happening in the Dawson Kingdom, but I stumbled onto way bigger news, that she was a petite girl with short, light blue hair held back by a camo headband. Her vest and overalls were also the same camouflage pattern. She flipped through a video den mushy, a huge smile on her face, punctuated by the occasional giggle. Jackpot. Martha scrolled through the photos, practically bouncing with excitement. This is a scoop. Morgans will pay a fortune for this. She was an intelligence broker, and not just any broker. She only investigated leads that piqued her interest and trusted only what she saw with her own two eyes. That quirk made her famous in the business. She always delivered first-hand, rock-solid information. Recently, the Ornest family, usually a reliable source in the underground intelligence network, had abruptly shifted their strategy. Simultaneously, requests for intel on the Dawson Kingdom's succession to the throne were popping up all over. Her instincts screamed that the two events were connected, and since it sounded interesting, she sailed to the North Sea from the Grand Line. She headed straight for the infamous Tiger Shark Island, but before she could dig into the Dawson Kingdom intel, she got an eyeful of something far more interesting. Yo, that she eagerly pulled out a den mushy and dialed a number. The instant the connection went through, Martha blurted, "You're gonna pay big this time, Morgans." Ha ha ha. The Dawson Kingdom gossip isn't worth much, Martha. Morgan's booming laughter echoed from the den mushy. As the news mogul, Morgans had access to more intelligence than anyone. Martha, a rising star in the intel world, was one of his go-to sources for premium content. He knew she'd taken a contract to investigate the Dawson Kingdom recently, but a change in the line of succession in some world government affiliate country. That wasn't exactly headline news. In this age of pirates kicked off by the pirate king Roger, people wanted pirate stories. Dawson Kingdom? I don't give a damn about that anymore. Martha's voice vibrated with excitement. Just check the photos I just sent, you won't be disappointed. Oh. Now you've piqued my interest. A sudden scream blared from the den mushy. That was Vice Admiral Enigmo getting wrecked. You got it, Martha grinned, basking in Morgan's shock. I dug through the recent reports. The pirate who took down Enigmo just debuted a month ago. And before that, they took down Spider Miles and Oft Gladius from the Don Quixote family. He's just a rookie, but he's been knocking down heavy hitters left and right. Mark my words, he's this year's supernova. This is huge. Massive. Morgans couldn't contain his excitement. More photos, stat. Send them all. If you want more, it's gonna cost you. I know, same deal as usual. Nope. I risked my neck to get these shots. Martha's eyes turned into dollar signs. You gotta pay more. You greedy little devil. How much? Morgans winced. 5 times the usual. You're out of your mind. Trust me, he's worth it. Not just Rod, but the whole crew are supernova material. Damn it, Morgans gnashed his teeth. 5 times the price stung, boom. A distant but violent clash cut through the air, and Martha's smile faltered slightly, a glint of greed in her eyes. What's that? Sensing 2 immensely powerful presences near the coast, Martha grinned again. Today is my lucky day. She'd barely managed to survive the earlier fight between the two, hunkering down in the ruins until Enigmo had finally retreated, but those pictures were worth it, and now, before she could even close the deal on those shots, another big event was unfolding right here. Judging by the auras, one was Enigmo. Whoever he was fighting must be a top-tier player. Gotta go. I'll call you back later. Martha lost all interest in haggling with Morgans and hung up without another word. Wait, on the other end, Morgans was stunned. 5 times it is, but the line was dead. He stared at the den mushy, bewildered. Did she find another buyer? No, these were fresh photos. He was the king of news. Nobody could move on this intel faster than him, but... Pull up everything you can find on this, Rod. Everything. Morgans barked the order to his assistant. Even if he was just a small-time pirate before, this Rhodes had definitely grabbed his attention. He had a feeling this up-and-comer was going to be delivering him a steady stream of explosive news. Meanwhile, Martha jammed the den mushy into her pants pocket and carefully tucked the video den mushy into a small pouch on her vest, ensuring she could capture any action she saw. Let's see what kind of fireworks are going off over there. Tightening her boots, Martha sprinted toward the shore. Just about in range. When she could make out details on the beach, she stopped. The sight made her tremble. Now that's news. She pulled out the telescope around her neck for a closer look. Her heart raced. Shichibukai Doflamingo is fighting Vice Admiral Enigmo. Barely containing her excitement, Martha put down the telescope, dropped to the ground, and practically blended into the landscape. Slow and steady. The character of the information dealer Martha was provided by book friend Tutututu. Chapter 60 Martha, I've got you, Rod. New book, please read it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tiger Shark Island, West Coast. After back-to-back battles, the place was unrecognizable. The once lush hills were now gravel piles, and only a few stumps remained of the trees, as if they'd been chopped down in a flash. It wasn't until the Navy warship was long gone that Martha cautiously crawled out from the wreckage. Phew, that was close. After double-checking, Martha took a deep breath and patted her chest. She was a devil fruit user, with the powers of the disguise fruit. Using her ability, she could blend into her surroundings like a chameleon, creating perfect camouflage. Until someone saw through her, people would unconsciously ignore her. But once exposed, her disguise was useless. Wearing clothes that matched the environment greatly enhanced her camouflage. That's why she usually wore camouflage patterns. But it was worth it. Holding up her visual den mushy, Martha's face lit up with excitement. I'm gonna be rich. Gotta contact Morgan's ASAP. Thinking this, Martha stashed her visual den mushy and pulled out her communication den mushy. Just 5 times, the moment the call connected, she heard Morgan's frantic voice. A smirk played on her lips, but Martha wasn't rushing. That was the old price. Don't push it. Morgan's got nervous, realizing she was trying to jack up the price. He'd just reviewed all the info on roads at the office, not much to see. Just a rookie pirate who'd only just set sail, hadn't even made a ripple yet. His crew, though, was a different story. Catwoman Nia and the Surgeon of Death, Trafalgar Law, those guys had some serious files, but that just made him more curious about Rhodes. To get those guys to follow him, Rhodes had to be something special. Still, 5 times the price was already pushing it. Whoa, hold on. Don't get your feathers ruffled. I'm not some greedy bird who goes back on her word. Martha wagged her finger, trying to look innocent. If you could ignore the Bailey symbols practically flashing in her eyes, it might have worked. Yeah, right, you're a total money grubber. Morgan's thought, looking at the den mushy mimicking Martha's expression, but he didn't say it out loud. At least she wasn't trying to squeeze him even more. I got more dirt. More. Morgan's couldn't believe it. Navy Vice Admiral, going toe-to-toe with a Shichibukai. What do you think of this shot? Ah ha ha ha. Hearing Martha's bombshell, Morgan's was stunned for a second, then burst out laughing. Huge. This is huge. The world government's biggest muscle, the Navy headquarters, and the King's Shichibukai, their hand-picked pirates. A clash between those two is gonna send shockwaves through the whole ocean. Just thinking about it gets my blood pumping. The Shichibukai system was a desperate measure the world government cooked up to deal with the out-of-control pirate problem. It had been controversial from day one, with plenty of folks in the Navy and the allied countries against it, but they kept it going to try and balance the power at sea. What would this showdown mean for the Shichibukai? Especially since they were never even at full strength to begin with. I'm in. Morgan said decisively. 5 times the price for both scoops. Attaboy, king of the news. That's what I like to hear. A wide grin stretched across Martha's face. I'll send over all the details ASAP. Make it snappy. This is tomorrow's headline. After hanging up, Martha pumped her fist. Should I chase after them? The thought zipped through her mind. A pirate crew like that was bound to stir up trouble. If she stuck with them, she'd have a steady stream of scoops, and a steady stream of scoops meant a steady stream of cash. Martha's mouth watered, and a trickle of saliva ran down her chin. That's it. She clenched her fist, determination blazing in her eyes. I'm on your tail, Pirate Rhodes. Young master. Doflamingo and Baby 5 were soaring through the sky on Buffalo's back, heading towards Horgo's town. Buffalo, with his spin fruit, wasn't much of a fighter, usually just playing a support role. Baby 5 looked at Doflamingo, worried. Doflamingo had raised her since she was a kid, and meant the world to her. This was the first time she'd seen him looking like this. Law, did you really betray the family? Even though Law had left years ago, Doflamingo had always kept the top spot of Red Heart open for him, never officially branding him a traitor. No question about it. That brat is dead to us. Doflamingo's eyes were hidden behind his shades, masking his true feelings. I will never forgive traitors, or anyone who hurts my family. Memories from years ago flashed through his mind, leaving a complicated expression on his face. He remembered the first time he met Law. The kid had barged into the Don Quixote family's place with a bomb, demanding to join. The moment he saw him, Doflamingo knew that this kid was a lot like he used to be. He'd lost everything and wanted to tear the world down. But the kid he'd had such high hopes for had ended up on the opposite side. Why betray the family? Why betray me? Why hurt my family? The more he thought, the more Doflamingo's fury grew. Veins bulged on his forehead, and he radiated such intense malice that Baby, Five and Buffalo both trembled. Images flickered behind his eyes. His father, killed with a smile on his face. And his brother, killed with a smile, too. Why do you make me turn on my own family again?